The Jets are only the second team ever to have 13 wins in their first 14 games. We're going to talk about that on episode 104 of the Level Flight podcast. Okay, we good to go?
Always good to go.
I'm just chilling at Canada Life Center.
That's the hard-hitting analysis you listen to the Level Flight podcast for.
Here we go.
Jets are a brisket team, low and slow for the first two periods, and boom, an explosion of flavor in the last few minutes of the third.
Doing all right. Better if my internet would work.
Elliot.
This is comedy. I'm Brian. I'm joined by Connor.
Hello.
And Elliot.
Hey.
Wow, that was fun.
You're listening to the Level Flight podcast. Hello and welcome in everyone to episode 104 of the Level Flight podcast. Somehow, week after week, I think that we're going to be talking about a couple of losses. Jets are now 13-1. Before we get into any of that, though, I'm joined by Connor. Connor, how you doing?
Doing well. Like you said, this team just keeps winning. We'll talk about these last two wins here, but they're very... Just kind of shrug your shoulders like, yeah, the Jets just shut out back-to-back Central Division opponent teams because, of course, they did. And we're getting to the point where we're expecting wins and more of them, and the expectations are rising. And next up on the schedule is Dallas on Saturday. So it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, they're kind of running the gauntlet right now where they have, last night they have Colorado, they win. They have Dallas. They have, I think it's the Rangers.
Yeah.
And then Florida coming up as well, they've got Florida.
Yeah.
So this is really the test of like, hey, were you just beating up on lesser opponents or are you legitimately a great team? And the more we're seeing as of late, because we'll touch on it briefly, their win against Tampa where they went shot for shot and then kind of just buried it late. They take care of business against Colorado, mostly because of the guy in the crease.
Yes.
And then, they have to now bounce back from an effort that wasn't exactly where they wanted to play Dallas, who is kind of the odds-on favorite to, be that team who's the one to beat in the West. So I think that, we keep saying it that like now is the time for them to prove it. Now's the time for them to prove it. It really is now because if they, beat up on Dallas, they beat up on the Rangers, they beat up on Florida at some point in the next week, it's going to be hard to deny any sort of, well, who's really the best team in the league, allegations, because somehow still I've seen some of the power rankings and best team things not listing the Jets at that top spot. So it's now up to them, I guess, to prove them wrong, but I don't think they need to, but I digress.
Right. But the funny thing is, it's like, say what you want about their schedule. Other teams in the league have had a soft schedule or a soft start to the year. Like teams have lost to San Jose, like teams have lost to Utah. Utah's won some games, right? Colorado has had a shaky, like it literally, if they go out and these next four games, they get Dallas, New York, Florida back to back. If they go 1-3, they're still 14-4. Like
that's insane.
Like it's if they go 1-3, which would not be good, they'd be 14-4. So they bought themselves a lot of wiggle room here. There's really no tougher stretch in their schedule. Maybe we could talk about this a little bit later on, but there's no tougher stretch in their schedule in the season than from now till December 8th. They play 2 home games. And they're both standalone home games. So they'll go on a 3-game road trip, come back for 1, leave. 6-game road trip, come back for 1, leave. 3-game road trip. So it's like a 14-game road trip or like a 15-game road trip coming up for the Jets. It's
like a quick reprieve in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get on that more, I think, later. Cause like I feel like it's almost necessary for us to kind of talk about what's up next a little bit more in depth because to be honest with you, that I think is more intriguing than the, last. I feel like every time we're like, okay, here's what happened this week. They won. Like
these last 2 games, it's like, yeah, they just like shut things down. Connor Hellebuyck was great. Shrug your shoulders. They won. Yep.
Yeah, like that's the thing too, and that comes after a game that was almost pure chaos on the Sunday against Tampa,
Right.
where it felt like there was nothing that could possibly shut either team down. Like every single chance seemed like it was a grade A chance. They were letting guys totally alone. Neither goalie was at their best. You got Vasilevsky and you've got Hellebuyck, and they both looked like they were struggling a bit out there. What did you think overall from the Jets, though, being able to match an always very high firepower Tampa team, and then proceed to take, obviously a Sandberg goal to
Yeah.
be the game winner later on? How do you think of their effort to kind of keep things close enough and then take advantage of the opportunities?
A Sandberg goal and then a Stanley goal. So 2 goals from like improbable defensive defensemen on the
Yeah.
left side there. The ability to keep up with them and the power play this year has given them that ability. Like you didn't really see a lot of this last year. Jets are first in goals through their first 14 games. I mean, obviously they're 13-1, so they're going to have to score a lot of goals to do that. But the power play clicking along at like over 40% is a big thing. Like this gives them the ability. And we said it a lot last year. It's like the Jets could dominate a team at 5-5, but if they lose the special teams battle 2-0, you're in such a massive hole in each game that you're trying to pull yourself out of. Now the penalty kill is dominating, the power play is dominating, and you're seeing them win games because of it. Which is really nice to see. And then the Logan Stanley play. I feel like we can't even talk about this game without talking about that play because Logan Stanley crushes Luke Glendening in the middle of the ice. Like
I thought he was dead.
the biggest Jets hit of the year, easily. And then who was it? Gergensons fights him.
Oh, yeah, which, by the way, totally
Didn't know
forgot
he
he
was
went to
on-
Tampa.
Yeah. Okay. Watching the Avs last night was like a reality check for like me knowing the NHL, like their entire bottom 6. And
Listen, if we ever had to play who he play for, I would
the
lose
Avs are a
miserably.
mess. But anyways, he fights Logan Stanley. Stanley, again, clean hit, has to answer for it. He get an instigator penalty. And then on the ensuing power play, Alex Iafallo scores that goal. And the Jets go up 4-3. Again, Tampa ties it, and Dylan Sandberg scores the eventual game winner. But that swing in the game when it was 3-3, Stanley with the big hit, got the momentum, scored on the power play, and then the Jets ended up winning. That was a huge play. And yeah, this game had it all. It was so entertaining from start to finish. And it was awesome. And it was easily the most entertaining Jets game of the year, in my opinion, was that game on Sunday.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. Like, it kind of had a little bit of everything, including, which I'm not going to get into this because it's been talked about at length already by everyone else, but that goaltender interference call.
Right, yes.
Where it was clearly goaltender interference. They ruled it wasn't. But that all aside, the fact that Hellebuyck was like, yeah, I sent them a full PowerPoint. I don't know what they're doing with it, though. That is such an incredible, hey, the ball's in your court move. And, good for him. That's the thing. Like, he's always been very outspoken about it, but to have him say, I sent them a full presentation about what goaltender interference should be. And yet we're still having these calls that you're like, that's clearly goaltender interference. And then it's ruled not. And having clearly no standard of what is, maybe they should take a peek at it.
Yeah, like we don't have to get into that call specifically, but it's so ridiculous. Every single passing goaltender interference call, I learn less and less about the rule. And then you see the NHL's explanation for it that they tweeted out and they sent out.
Incidental contact.
It was not incidental.
Let me wedge my stick into the pad of the goalie and push it back 3 feet.
Drive this guy back who's 6'5", 6'4", 230 pounds. Just drive him into the net. That's incidental. You could do that incidentally. That's pretty impressive, but whatever. It's a few days ago now. And yeah, it seems to be unanimous that everyone thought it was goaltender interference except for the refs and situation room that made the call.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of weird because you go from this chaos, that this was this game, and then you have back-to-back shutouts. So against Utah and against Colorado. But what we're going to do before that is we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors, DraftKings and Game Time, and we'll be right back. This episode of the Level Flight Podcast is brought to you by Game Time. You really can't beat live hockey. The chatter of the fans around you, the sounds of the skates cutting up the ice, and the crashing of players into the boards are just some of the things that stick with you forever. Having been to a number of games in my life, I know I'll never forget it. Are you looking to catch the action? Well, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. We're fast approaching the holiday season, so why not look for tickets as a Christmas gift? The Jets take on the Nashville Predators on Monday, December 30th at Canada Life Center, and you could possibly be there with the help of Game Time. Game Time's super deal has tickets in the 6th row of Section 204 for just $106 all in. Or if you're looking for something else, they have an amazing deal in Section 324, the 9th row for just $41 all in. It's easy. Just select your preferred deal, follow the Game Time app, and boom, you're set. Some of my favorite features are how you can check out Seat View, a panoramic view of what your seats would be, or how Game Time curates your deals to find the best price on great seats. And one of the best things about Game Time is how they show all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. This episode of the Level Flight Podcast is also brought to you by DraftKings. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 2024-2025 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And welcome back into the Level Flight Podcast. Thanks again to DraftKings and Game Time for sponsoring this episode. Connor, back-to-back shutouts, not only important for the team and the wins and everything, that moves Hellebuyck now into the top 5 all-time among U.S.-born goaltenders. How big has he been over the last couple of games?
Yeah, I mean, 40 career shutouts is an incredible accomplishment. He said it as much after the game. He said the next one on his list is 300 wins, which he's 15 away from. So he's hitting, you got the 500th career start last year. He's getting his 40th career shutout, get the 300th win, maybe get another Vezina this year with the start he's off to. Like he's such a special talent. And the two games that they shut out these Central Division teams were two completely different games. Like the Utah game, I would attribute entirely to the Jets' structure and defensive play. Like
they shut everything down.
Everything. I think they said that Utah had 2 high danger scoring chances. No way. No, or it might have been scoring chances. I don't know. But Utah did not have any chances.
Clayton Keller had 21 total shots.
Yeah, Clayton Keller had a few good looks at the end of the second period on a 2-on-1 that Hellebuyck made back-to-back saves. That was huge at the time. It was a 1-0 game. Outside of that, there was really no tough chances, and the Jets locked things down against a fast rush team like Utah. I thought that was a really, really impressive game. And then last night or Thursday night against the Colorado Avalanche was the complete opposite, where first period they looked great, and then the second and third period they just kind of turtled up. And the Avs just took it to them when they would put Lehkonen, McKinnon, Rantanen, and Taves and Makar, the 5-man unit, all on the ice at once. It was like they were on
they were always on the ice too.
And they were always on the ice. Yeah, it was just all Avs. And honestly, it looked like a playoff game from last year. But the difference being Connor Hellebuyck actually made the saves this year, as opposed to, the screens or the tips and a few pucks getting through, but he made some ridiculous saves, most notably off of Cale Makar in that third period, kicking out the
Oh,
right pad on the rebound. Like he stole that game entirely. And you know what? The Jets, Gabe Velarde, Scott Arniel, after the game, fully admitted it. They were like, Hellebuyck stole that game for us. We played terrible. On to
yep.
Saturday. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think like that what's important to mention too is I know bringing it back to last year again. One of the things that we noticed heavily in that series was Jared Bednar's ability to update his plan mid game and
Yep.
completely flip the script. And it showed again that he is still able to do that because after a first period that I felt very good about for the Jets, they did not have another stretch of more than maybe 2 minutes in that game where I felt like they were outplaying Colorado. Like
Nope. Yep.
it was such an incredible masterclass of making adjustments on the fly by, and obviously there's one thing about making strategic adjustments, but then putting all of your best players on the ice always, it's probably going to benefit you greatly because not every
Right.
line can match up against it. You can't have the Lowry line on 100% of the time. And I don't know, like maybe this is just, maybe it is going to be like a learning thing of, okay, once again, they took it to us. We got the saves. We won that one, but we're going to play them again in a month. Let's make it so they don't have the ability to, run us over when they make an adjustment.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? One of those adjustments that might be on the table here, and I didn't see it until way after the game. I mean, I definitely saw it during the game. Like it was definitely noticeable. Is that Lowry line is always matched up against McKinnon. And we talk about the Lowry line as a shutdown line, and this year they're outscoring opponents like 10-1 at 5-on-5. Like they're having an incredible year. Last night, I think the scoring chances when they were on the ice were 7-0 in Colorado's favor. So they got shredded by the McKinnon line. Like they obviously Scott Arniel comes into that game controlling the matchups. They want Adam Lowry, their shutdown center, on Nathan McKinnon. It works in theory. And you know what? It worked last year in the regular season, maybe not as much in the playoffs, but they got shredded by the McKinnon line and the Taves Makar pairing. And I don't know what maybe the alternative is. But we did see some line changes in the third. I don't know if the line matching got, switched up at all, but yeah, the Jets just turned the puck over way too many times. Their breakouts were not clean whatsoever. And then when you turn the puck over against Colorado and they get these extended offensive zone shifts, pun intended, it just seems to like be an avalanche and just keeps going, all this offense, and it just never stops and you just can't stop them. And that's what happened. But Connor Hellebuyck just stole the Jets 2 points entirely.
Well, I think what the big difference is between that line matching, though, is the fact that aside from Mason Appleton, Lowry and Niederreiter are not fast players.
Right.
They use their body positioning and a lot of their IQ in terms of where they need to put themselves in advance to, really work on their, defensive play. As long as McKinnon and Makar skate directly at you, they can't do a whole lot against that. Like you need to, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know what they can do to possibly, mitigate that, but it almost has to be a speed on speed. Don't cave into the fact that they're going to be aggressive with being passive, which we talked about a lot last year, which was the biggest issue where they changed their game plan to essentially just eat the shots and hope that they could rebound.
Yeah.
I think that you need to kind of think about the speed aspect, which was something that was their downfall last year. How can you change that, mindset of it all? But I mean, overall though, you're going to have games like that. No one's going to be perfect for, all of these games. And, we even saw obviously in their one loss, the Jets were awful for 2 periods and then looked like a better team in the third.
Right.
This one, they were better in the first and looked awful for the next 2 periods. What the key though is when they go in to the game against Dallas tomorrow, or I guess I'm not sure when we're releasing this, so could be today, could be tomorrow, who knows?
Saturday.
Yeah. How do they respond to getting absolutely shelled, even though they won? Because that's the thing. I feel like in the past, a lot of the times, if they won, none of the adjustments would stick.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, we got the win. We're it's a point in the standings, whatever. I think the key to this Jets team being different and continuing this role that they're on is despite them being 13-1, still looking for ways to improve. And you have to do that against a team like Dallas, who as everyone knows, can
Yeah.
beat you essentially in any facet of the game.
I 100% agree. And you know what? The comments from the Jets locker room post game last night, I like if you didn't tell me about the game and told me to listen to the quotes, I would have told you that they lost. Like Velarde kept talking about how he wasn't happy with his game, his lines game. He wasn't happy with the team whatsoever. Connor Hellebuyck obviously was a little bit more upbeat because he had the big night. He had the shutout.
He was the Jets.
He was the Winnipeg Jets. And then Scott O'Neill, like he spent a good minute and a half outlining the reasons why Colorado was able to come back in that game, how they can learn from this game. Like this wasn't we got the 2 points. All right. We move on. It was like, no, we did not play well. We're not happy about it. Scott O'Neill even said something along the lines of, I didn't even have to say anything to the guys. They knew that they didn't play well, right? And this is what the regular season is for. They're 13-1. They're clearly one of the best teams in the NHL, but they still struggle with speed. Toronto is a fast team. Colorado is a fast team. So over these next, I don't know how many games they have left. What's 82 minus 14? However many games that is, that's how many they need to figure out this kind of speed problem, right? Like this is where you can adjust and make yourself ready for the playoffs so that if you play Colorado in the first round, if they figure it out and they're maybe the 3 seed, or maybe the Jets are the 1 seed and Colorado's a wild card team or something, right? You're not looking lost and just hoping Connor Hellebuyck gets the job done. That's what the regular season's for. That's what the Jets will look to do. And look, Dallas, not the fastest team, but then you get New York and Florida twice, who are 2 fast rush teams. So the test is here. It is. This is it. Colorado, Dallas, New York, Florida. This is the prime part of the Jets schedule, testing them of this 13-1 stretch. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we move on to sort of what's to come, I just want to quickly draw back to the Utah game. Nino Niederreiter.
Yes.
900 career games now for him. 2 goals in that game, one of which was nasty. It was phenomenal. But no, Nino has been so great since they brought him in. And like the fact that they got him for so cheap and then he was so willing to sign here.
Yeah.
It's so great to see him having such a good start because he is someone who kind of bucks the trend of people being like, once I got there, I wanted to leave. He got here and he was like, I'll sign an extension. I'll enjoy the ride on this third line. And they've become such an identity line for this team. And, Nino is one of those guys that I've always really, really liked as a player. And I celebrated so much when he became a Jet. But no, he's done so many great things for such a long time.
He's still, yes, on the Nino part, could not agree more. And it's still Kevin Cheveldayoff's one of, he's had a lot of good moves, but the second round pick for Nino Niederreiter and then subsequent 3-year extension at $4 million a year, which came last year. So this is year 1 of 3. Like we've got 2 more years after this one of Nino Niederreiter at a good price tag. That continues to be some of Chevy's best work. Obviously, as the Dubois trade, and he has a few. The Kopp trade was a really good one as well. Things like that. But the Nino trade, the DeMello trade, I almost forgot about. But yeah, that Niederreiter trade where you're getting a second round pick, which can usually be hit or miss, turning it into a player that top 6, bottom 6, middle 6, whatever you want to call it, has been super, super effective. He's had a great start to the year. It's been fun to watch that line.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to what's coming up, we're going to hear another quick break here and hear from Raycon, another one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back to talk about the upcoming trip. Have you ever seen a product you want? Price is a little high though, so you wait and think, maybe Black Friday or Cyber Monday might be the time to get that. And then you do, and it saves you money. That's because Black Friday and Cyber Monday typically is a time when you get deals that you would not get earlier in the year. Except with Raycon, because with Raycon, you get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year. But that doesn't mean they're not having any sales for Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering our viewers up to 30% site-wide. You know what's a Black Friday or Cyber Monday deal that you will appreciate every day? Raycon's everyday earbuds. Especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that make them even more of a must-have for any audio lover. For example, they now have a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that helps you pair 2 devices at once. Raycon's everyday earbuds also come with active noise cancellation. It's a feature that's a must-have for me when I'm studying for school or essentially doing any other focus activity. But that's typically difficult to find at an accessible price point, until now. Because that's another thing. Although Raycon's quality rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, Raycons start at just half the price as the other guys. So they're already an incredible deal. Even before you factor in their Black Friday or Cyber Monday offer up to 30% off site-wide. Raycon's everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, so you don't have to have the standard issue white or black earbuds sticking out of your ears. Personally, I'm a fan of blue, but, to each their own. Now's the perfect time to scoop them up if you haven't already. And don't worry, if you're not as impressed as I am, Raycon offers a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose. It's time to save big for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. And welcome back into the Level Flight podcast. We've talked about it a bit already, but this week is massive coming up here. You've got legitimate Stanley Cup contenders in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And this is the chance to really prove that you are one of them as well. Like this is really the start of the gauntlet for them. And we mentioned Dallas. The New York game is really interesting to me because last year, if you recall, near the end of the season, they went into MSG, and the Connor Hellebuyck line shut down everything that the Zibanejad line had.
Yeah.
And that was like the best game they had played in forever. I don't know if it was just like specifically their matchup, but if they could do that again and just even have like a really good game from that top line,
Yeah.
that's gonna go a really long way for me.
I agree. And the Rangers just lost 5-0 to the Buffalo Sabres last night. So they're not playing their best hockey right now. And again, there it is. People who want to say, oh, the strength of schedule, the Jets haven't played anyone. The Rangers just lost at home 5-0 to the Buffalo Sabres. Like, this happens in the NHL.
And nobody's doubting the fact that the Rangers are a hell of a team. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Let's just say hypothetically, the Jets lose, as you said, they go 1-3. I'm not changing my perception of the fact that they're still in a good spot. The Rangers just got blasted by the Sabres, and they're still going to be considered cup favorites.
Yeah. And what if the Jets go 3-1 in this stretch, right? And they really prove it. I don't know. This is a really fascinating stretch of games here. Dallas, New York, Florida twice, because like you said, they're all Stanley Cup contenders. But again, I don't buy into this whole, the schedule has been easy. I mean, to win 13 of 14 games in any stretch of the schedule is incredibly impressive. I don't care if you play San Jose and Chicago back-to-back for 14 straight games. That's still pretty impressive. And the Jets have done it. Now, New York, the Jets this year have emulated a lot of what New York has been the past couple of years, where they're not amazing at 5-on-5. The Jets have turned that. The last couple of games, they've been really good at 5-on-5 outside of the Colorado game. But usually the Rangers are meh at 5-on-5, elite goaltending, elite power play. And that's what the Jets were through the first 11, 12 games here. So it'll be interesting to see, Shesterkin versus Hellebuyck, 2 elite power plays going head to head. And last year was the Mark Scheifele hat trick in MSG, along with Connor Hellebuyck making 40 something saves. So it was a great one last year in New York. And then the Florida games are always good. Always good. So this is going to be fun.
They are. And this is going to be the Jets' chance. That's the thing. Is this it? You play one home, one away, and then you don't see them again until
Florida? Maybe. I'll double check that. But yeah, it might be.
It's going to be funny, though, because the last time that the Jets and Panthers were mentioned in the same sentence was the whole Maurice saying that he wants the Jets to win this year's Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So
hold on. I have something. We've messed up the schedule to this point. They do play Tampa Bay, actually. So another playoff team. They go Dallas on Saturday, New York on Tuesday, Tampa Bay on Thursday, Florida on Saturday, Florida on Tuesday. So we've been saying Dallas, New York, Florida. Tampa Bay is in the middle there as well. Which,
that's
again,
the thing. You've got an absolute playoff team, and we saw what Tampa can do literally this week.
Tampa's a really good team, yeah.
And then to have that, this is truly, and I've said it several times already in the episode, you are running the gauntlet. And this is someone asked me the other day, what is my least favorite road trip that the Jets go on? And I think it's like their East Coast ones where they do like either the like the New York teams and that, or when you go down to Florida and then you have to play the Panthers, the Lightning, and then you face like on your way back up like a Carolina or a New York, and it's like,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, have fun.
The past couple years, that East Coast road trip where they play like both New York teams, New Jersey, and everyone, and like Philly,
Washington or Carolina.
yeah, they get shredded on those road trips. Like last year, they beat New York, and then I remember they played like 3 of their worst games against New Jersey, Philly, and
That New
someone
Jersey game,
else.
I remember that.
Oh, they played so bad in the next 3 games. Like they beat New York, and I think that there's maybe this like sigh of relief maybe within the team that's like, oh,
It's like
East Coast road trip, we're going to be fine. We just beat New York on the road, and we're the best team in the NHL. And then they got like blown out of the building the next 3 games. It was ugly, but yeah.
But I truly think that this trip goes. I mean, I don't think it'll change the perception within the room of what they think they can do, because they're a very confident bunch, but they know that they
Yeah.
have work to do. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the Winnipegger in me that it's like I feel a little bit slighted when I see that the team, when they're doing better than they've ever done to start a season, still not getting full recognition.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's see what happens when they go in and maybe they go in and they beat like a New York at MSG, or they beat Florida in in Sunrise. Like that's the type of thing that it's almost going to take. But I also kind of like when they fly under the radar, because the longer they go under, the fact that they're having a historically great start, maybe it's just one of those things that they're just going to keep doing their own thing. They're not drawing any unnecessary attention. They're not getting, because I always feel like whenever the immense media attention comes, that's when microscopes on, they struggle.
Yeah.
Like,
And
look at what
it'd be
happened
good-
after they beat the hell out of Colorado in game 1, where they dropped 7 or 8 goals.
Yeah.
7-6.
7-6,
Immediately
yeah.
they're like, they can they can outscore anyone, and then they lost 4 straight.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, maybe that is the learning part. Now that you bring that up, maybe they do go into New York and beat the Rangers, and then it's like, okay, you've got this scope on you again now. How do you kind of handle that? Like maybe that's because they've done that the last 2 years. They went into Vegas as well and looked like a team that could win the series in game 1. Like they dominated Vegas and then looked terrible the next 4 games, right? So that's maybe something they can learn as well, is you can't replicate playoff atmosphere, playoff coverage in the regular season, but the closest you're going to get is New York on the road in MSG. And then again, they won that game last year, but what's the follow-up? Because you get Tampa Bay on Thursday and then back-to-back games against the Panthers. So you can't, beat New York, let's say, and then kind of have this lull, because those 2 teams in the 3 games will run you out of the building. So that'll be really interesting to see if they, can kind of handle that.
Yeah, and I also think too that this Florida back-to-back, or not back-to-back, but like the back-to-back games against the Panthers,
Home and home, yep.
it is such an interesting dynamic, because it's not like, I feel like the home and homes are always done against teams that are close to you.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to be like, hey, Maurice said he wants you guys to win the cup. Prove him right that you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but no, I'm actually, it's such a weird feeling to have like this level of a start, because I feel like the typical conversations we're having at this point are, the Jets are doing all right. Here's how they can get better. Here's why they've sucked. The Jets have won 13 of 14 games, and I'm at a loss.
Yeah. Like we're past the point of like, oh, are they good? Like this whole preseason, are they a playoff team or something like that? Like we're past that. Yeah. They are. If you haven't been watching, they're a really good team.
Like truly, like we talked about this actually before we started recording. The last team to do what the Jets have done was the 07-08 Senators, who fell off a cliff in the back half of the year and yet still made the playoffs.
Right.
That's the cut line there. But the fact, though, that I think everyone knows that even if they regress a little. I don't think this team is that level of fall off a cliff. Like they have enough of the basics.
The special teams can kind of keep them more afloat this year, along with Connor Hellebuyck, if that makes sense. And there will be a drop off. They're not going to go 13-1 every single 14 game stretch throughout the year, right? Like there might be a second half collapse. We will see. More likely than not, there will be, because we've seen that the past couple of years. But last year there was a second half collapse, and then they went into the playoffs on an 8-game winning streak. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe there are things that kind of matter more within that second half than, just the wins and losses per se. But they've banked so many points in the standings. It's what is it, November 8th, and they've got a 17-point gap on the Nashville Predators in the standings, who a lot of people predicted would make the playoffs or be around it with the Jets in that wild card spot, right? And after their win last night, they have a 14-point gap on the Avs. And both of these teams have played, all three of these teams, have played 14 games. And the Jets have a 17-point gap on Nashville, 14-point gap on Colorado. And it's November 8th.
What's the thing? Like you play like slightly above 500 hockey for the remainder of the season. You're still going to be like a massive gap up like on the cut line.
Easily. Yep.
Well, like, and they're on what? They're on a 5-game win streak now?
Yes.
Do you recall, like, honestly, even the last like 5 or so years where it felt like it started to turn, how it felt like when they would get to like 4 or 5 games, it felt insurmountable to extend that win streak.
Now it's like, it's just getting started,
Like that's the thing. Cause like they ended last season on an 8-gamer. They started this season. Yeah. They also had another one during the season as well. Yeah. Like, and that's their franchise, record now. So now it's like, oh, can they get to 9? Cause like, I swear
that's
though,
the question.
For like the first like 7 years of the franchise back in Winnipeg, it felt like I maybe saw them get to 5 games once, maybe twice. They would never get to 6. And then 2017-18 kind of changed that perception, I think.
Yeah.
But then they sucked for a couple years, and it was just Hellebuyck carrying them, and he can't carry them every single game always. Right. So they were going to lose some. The last couple years, though, where they've had that ability to mitigate any of the other issues and find ways to win, I'm still just not used to them being able to string together so many.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. And I agree with you. I do feel like the first couple of years when the Jets were back, they'd maybe get to like 3 straight, and they would never get that 4th, or like they'd get to 4 and they never get that 5th game. But this Jets team has a different mindset. They're taking it one game at a time. And yes, their schedule has been light in terms of strength of competition, but they've played every other day. Like it's a grueling stretch. They get Dallas here. We talked about the upcoming schedule. Like they're not looking past Dallas. Let's say, we're sitting here going, oh my God, these next month of action is grueling. They are focused entirely on Dallas, and then they'll hit the road and they'll just take it one game at a time. And that's what that kind of workman's attitude that the Jets have adopted these last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've said, big stretch ahead. I also want to mention, whenever you're listening to this, it'll probably be before the Winnipeg Blue Bombers take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We're not going to talk about the game or anything, but we're both going. Yeah. I'm excited for it. It's supposed to be nice out, but we'll end it on that. We will wish some luck to the Bombers and be done for today. But thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Connor, for joining me today. And as always, make sure you check all of our socials, subscribe to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, rate on whatever podcast app you listen to, because I know everyone seems to have their own. Yep. And we will see you maybe next week. I think we might have some time to get some talking in, and it'll be a great time to kind of check in as to how that stretch is going. So until next time, I'm Brian. That's Connor. And we will see you next time on the LFP. Go Blue.
See you. Go Blue.